we go. Oh, man. So we're having some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. Facebook has on the web in my browser, I tried to go up there and do a post, and every time I pulled up facebook.com, it just cleared out. I don't know why that's doing that. I do not know why it's doing that. Well, hey, do either one of you guys have Facebook or YouTube open on a tab? Yeah, make sure that's closed so it doesn't play back in the system. All right, so welcome everybody to the Hillbilly Green Show. I am Maverick. We got Jason. Say hi, Jason.
Hello.
And we got from Torqueedo, Jeff Little. How you doing today, sir?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show today. So Jason, man, you put a video online of setting up your new 360 with your Torqueedo, man. Tell us about that.
I did. I was really excited about the new Hobie Mirage drive that has a 360 on it, and I got it just over a week ago. And one of the first things I did was I put the Torqueedo on there with the power pole mount from Hobie, and just set that thing up. You know, it's ready to go. It's rocking and rolling. What was cool is the first night that I went out, I catch my personal best, and that was really awesome.
I saw that
video you did with the just the time lapse of you setting it up. Was a nice video.
Thank you. Have fun doing it. I've got some work to do. I'm trying to learn how to do this stuff, so it's all new to me.
Now the 360 you got, that's the 12, right?
Yes, the 12 foot.
And you had the 14 before?
Yeah, I've had the 14. I've done the 14 probably 5 years in a row. And this year I was thinking do something different. I wanted to have an open mindset, you know, and try new things, you know, and not just get locked into the same old thing. Earlier in the through the holidays, I had a bad back or something. And it just was out of whack, and I didn't think I can lift a 14 foot, and I had a tendency of putting too much stuff in a 14-foot boat, you know, just because you can take it all doesn't mean you need to. But that 12 footer is limiting, you know, what I'm putting into it. You know, I'm not carrying 10 rods. I'm carrying 4, maybe 5 rods now. I'm not using the front hatch, you know, full of storage with, you know, soft classics and weights and stuff like that. I'm just going light as I can.
Right. And with the Torqueedo on the 12, I mean, is there much of a difference? I mean, do you feel the difference? Because I remember we installed it on your 14 back at the old place, and I was just kind of curious as to how does it handle differently from the 14 to the 12?
Well, I think the 12 is a lot more nimble. You know, I can feel it, you know, rocking back and forth, you know, whenever I turn. It just seems like it's a lot more nimble than the 14 foot, though. I'm still getting used to having to use the skeg all the time with the 12. I think that makes it a lot more stable.
What top end speed are you getting, Jason, with the Torqueedo?
I'm getting about 4.9.
Okay. Generally, the longer boats, because I know with my PA 14, I get 5.2 if I load a lot of stuff in the front hatch. A lot of it has to do with adding, really getting the weight forward in a boat so that it looks like it's shoveling in the front, but really what it's doing is allowing the stern to release water cleanly, which honestly Hobie has one of the better stern designs in terms of releasing water cleanly at the stern, and that's where you really get your speed. I think a lot of people think, you know, that you get your speed by at the bow just slicing into the water. That's not it. It's really what happens at the back of the boat that releases the water well. I always when I test, I always cheat a little bit in that I unweight the seat, move forward on the balls of my feet, and I always go a little bit faster. And that tells me that most boat designers actually have it wrong in terms of the seat position. Needs to be more forward. Hobies are pretty far forward. Wilderness Systems puts them so you can slide them forward, but you need the corresponding front of the footwell to also be a little bit further forward. But 5.2 is what I get out of an ultralight 403 on the Pro Angler 14. It doesn't surprise me that it isn't as fast with the 12. Part of that though is you have shorter wetted surface. That's something that longer wetted surface, they just move faster. But it's also a lighter boat by a little bit, I would think. So
yeah, I mean, I've gotten 5.1 before in this boat. I don't know what I've done. Maybe I put some more stuff in the back that's causing it to be weighted down a little bit.
Right.
But, and all in all, I'm going lighter as possible. I'm even thinking about taking the transducer. You know how you have the 15-foot transducer cord. I found on Lowrance that I can go to a 6-foot cord. I know that's not much, but as you're talking about reducing weight, that's something out there, that can possibly help.
I didn't get up to 5.2 until I put a lot of weight in the front hatch, and I was confused at first. Like, hey, I've just added, and it was actually a big non-lithium battery for running my Humminbird Helix 10. Like I did a couple in parallel to make sure I got all day with a traditional lead, battery. And all of a sudden I'm going faster. I'm like, that makes no sense at all. And it was just the bow was riding up like this, and then I put a lot of weight there, and it just flattened it out, and it goes fast.
Right, I can definitely tell that that it's light in the front because it is setting up higher in the front than normal.
Still way faster than you're going to get with a trolling motor, though.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Have you heard any updates on the testing of? I know.
I hear from people every day asking, "What's the update?" And let me back it up and preface it with for just in case somebody doesn't know what we're talking about. The Torqueedo makes a 1 horsepower equivalent 403 ultralight 403, and then a newly released 3 horsepower equivalent 1103 AC, and it's not really a 3 horsepower motor. It's actually somewhere in the range of 1 to 1.5, but it's pound thrust, the power that it generates, because the motor is so close. It's right next to the propeller. Here's your propeller and here's your motor. It's comparable to a gas motor where 3 horsepower is created all the way up here, travels down and then out. In any case, the issue with with kayak bass fishing and BASS is that the regulation allows for electric motors up to 3 horsepower or manufacturer's maximum rating, which on the Hobie kayaks, it's because they developed the Evolve with Torqueedo. They rated it for a 400 watt motor, which is really specific and 100% excludes, on those regulations for tournaments, the 1100 watt motor, which is the 1103. So once we figure that out, like Hobie actually got the first 1103 in the country. Like we hustled. We knew that they had a battery to test it with, and I had Trey Leach with Innovative Sportsman overnight them an adapter plate, so that it would handle their testing. And then we got them an 1103 without a battery so that they could do the testing. And it's in their hands. They've had it for about a month, but they have a lot of things going on at Hobie, and they rank what they do on a day-to-day basis based on, as any business should, based on what's going to make them more money. and what is a priority. It's more of a favor of a partner that they've had in Torqueedo for years, and they'll get to it. The process that they and the criteria for what it's rated for that they follow is the National Marine Manufacturers Association. Whatever those protocols are, it's not Coast Guard, it's NMMA, and they're going to do it right. They're very thorough. I got a tremendous amount of respect for Hobie in general, but I've been out there to Oceanside, near San Diego, and worked with their engineers, and they are smart people. But they're thorough, and they will do it by the book. And
right,
they're gonna do what's right for the consumer. So,
right.
That being said, I've put the 1103 on my Pro Angler 14, and I got the videos out there, and I put foot control steering, and I whip it around, and
we've seen.
I'm just telling you my impression that it's not it's probably next to the native Titan 13. Those two are, and the Pro Angler 14 are the most stable you'll ever be with an 1103. So it's a lot of fun, and I don't think it's a safety issue.
With the steering, are you removing the Mirage Drive?
I switch back and forth. I actually have where, say, your footwell is here. I can't really see. Like, I'm really narrow in this.
No,
here's your footwell, and then my foot pegs. There it is. Foot pegs are there. This is totally inverse of what I'm actually doing. Foot pegs are there, and then the Mirage Drive is together. There's enough room in that huge, wide footwell,
right,
to do everything. And sometimes I leave it in. Sometimes, if I'm making a long run, I want to pull the Mirage Drive out and just lay the hammer down and go.
Right.
And then when I get closer, I'll drop it back in.
Does your setup for steering eliminate all of your horizontal rod storage?
I've surf launched with two. I was with Matthew Van last summer, and we surf launched, and I put two rods in there. The top two I couldn't get to, and I put one at each on the bottom. So
okay,
I've actually been using a lot of. I've been playing around with a Yak Attack Black Pack,
right?
And I've been doing horizontal rod storage facing back on a little pivot arm that swings down. Like, you stick the rod in, and the weight of it carries it back, and it points back, which is nice for fishing docks. You just, the dock's there, and you just slide right under it and keep going. You don't have to go around the dock. You just go under it.
Right.
River fishing, I don't worry about the branches above. On windy days, there's so much that's good about horizontal rod storage, but I think pointing them backwards is another good option.
Gunther has a question here. I don't know if you guys can see his comment, but he's wondering if Torqueedo's working on an auto drive equivalent drive.
Great question, especially in light of Old Town and their boats. They're the Minn Kota and the autopilot. Everyone wants to know about spot lock, and wouldn't that be great if Torqueedo had that? I started working on that years ago with ProNav. ProNav got to the point where they're like, well, we need to, we've developed something, and we know that it will work, and we showed it off at ICAST, I think 2 years ago, at least the concept and a prototype. And we know that they can develop it, but they looked at the sales numbers and said, we're not going to complete this until the sales numbers come up more, and that just hasn't happened yet.
Right.
I've actually been cranking out videos to sort of explain to people that, the concept of using something that's automated, like spot lock, that brings you back to a spot is really not that hard to figure out with foot control steering, marking a waypoint, and just paying attention. It takes like 5 minutes to figure that out. the difference is, and the videos that I've done, I actually put one out earlier this week, where I demonstrate that process and really show you how to drop a waypoint, say that's where I want to fish, and steer with your feet and adjust the throttle and pull up to it and ease up as you come into it real gradual, and stay and jig on that spot. It's not that tough to learn, and there's some advantages of doing it with foot control steering where you kind of feel what the current is doing, and also you can do it in a way that's less herky jerky. And I've tried the spot lock out on, I think it was a Motor Guide at Paddle Sports Retailer, was on a new canoe, and maybe it's just because I wasn't used to it. I think it is something that takes some getting used to. But having something that you're controlling to bring you back to, looking at that way, bring you back to that point is a little more smooth than something that's jerking you back, into
Right.
that spot.
Right.
The other part of it, and kind of the point of the video that I put up on Torqueedo kayak fishing, it was actually, I think it was Tuesday I was out. I got a 46-inch striper out of the Chesapeake Bay.
I saw that.
And
That was crazy.
yeah. Part of that video though was doing a little bit of math of showing, hey, I've marked a fish. They're on a ledge out there on this point, and that's where I want to drop my jig to get that fish. What I was showing though is that your tidal current is going at 2.6, I'm very visual, 2.6 miles per hour this way, right? And the wind was actually countering it and pushing me this way. So it wasn't that hard. But when they come together, where the wind is pushing you at 2.6 and the current is also pushing you at 2 point something, all of a sudden you're fighting. Your need to fight to hold on that spot is 5 point something mile per hour.
How deep was it?
That spot I think was like 12 feet deep. But sometimes I do this in
an anchor pole.
Sometimes I do this in. Sometimes I will jig in the winter. I'll jig on the striper in the Patapsco in 50 feet of water, with a 2.3 mile per hour outgoing tide and a 12 mile an hour crosswind, and I can drop a 1 ounce jig on a fish doing that with foot control steering. So
Wow.
My point is, it's we already sort of have spot lock. It's just not automated.
Right.
Instead of the computer in a piece of electronics, we use this computer, and it's better.
Jason, how are you steering?
So I got a question for you, Jeff. So where do you have your transducer? Is it up in the front of the boat, or is it underneath your seat? I mean, for mine, it's behind my seat on the one that you were talking about this week, on the video that you're doing. When you're dropping the jig down on top of the fish. Yeah.
On that one, it's kind of between my ankles.
Okay.
If I'm in my Outback, it's, where it is. It's mm-hmm. underneath me. It's in different places, but this week it was kind of up between my ankles.
Now, do you have a GPS reference or two different systems, like a puck or something that 0.1?
So,
or similar to
a good question. I didn't on that day, and I knew that I had one on order because I knew how important it was. And yesterday I went up and I met with Jake Harshman, and I drove up. He's local to me up in Pennsylvania, and we spent the day fishing the Susquehanna, but we did a little bit of a video showing the same kind of thing using, foot control steering and a motor that can go 7 mile an hour in the 1103 to punch up through river current. So you're not fighting tide and wind as much as punching back up through. That was the point of what we filmed yesterday. But when I got back from my striper trip, the box that had the puck in there came in, and we filmed my just doing that real quick install. And yeah, you can tell a difference that it's more accurate.
It's a huge help. I tell you, I was fighting. I guess the wind here was like 20 miles an hour wind from the south, and then I was at the discharge at Swept Cove that had current coming in. I had the wind, and I'm trying to stay on point there. But you know, having the 360, there's a lot more things that I'm getting used to on how to do that. I'm not running big circles around to get to my
imagine you're
waypoints.
sliding sideways when you need to, which is awesome.
Well, you think that it would go sideways, but really it just moves the front of the boat.
Okay.
So it doesn't go just side to side. It turns the front of the boat is what it does. So it's taking a lot to get used to, but I'm getting better at it. But that Torqueedo, I was trying to just use that to stay, you know, off the bank because it was trying to push me into the bank. But I would set that at about 16 to 20.
Yep.
And that would be
lower
just
watt.
enough. Yeah.
So Jason, when you're going from launch to spot, just real quick, Jeff, when you're going from launch to spot without, you know, that the steering mechanisms that Jeff was talking about, how are you steering to get to wherever you're going?
So what I've done is I've locked my Torqueedo in place with a cotter pin. There's a cotter pin that sits in there that locks it into place. And what I did is I ran a zip tie around the entire unit that holds that cotter pin into place so I don't lose it. But what that does is it locks that motor into place, and I steer using my regular rudder.
Okay.
So I'm using the rudder just like normal.
I just wanted to ask that for the folks that are on their Hobies.
Good question.
How to steer without that slick little pimped ride that Jeff has.
Mm-hmm. Now, I just don't know that I'm there yet on giving up my horizontal rod storage because, I mean, you know, I fish, you know, in some places up underneath trees and things like that. It's not always just wide open where I can leave something standing up vertical. When I do, I end up getting the biggest mess and broken rods and stuff like that. So I just keep them all down horizontally right now. And I'm using a lot less rods. I'm not taking a lot of stuff with me, which has forced me to, you know, be a little more strategic with what I'm doing and fishing what I know that that the fish, you know, or my technique that I'm fishing, you know, and not trying to second guess myself with overwhelming my brain with too many choices, you know.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you a question, and this is kind of probably going to be a really biased question, but for the people that are watching or considering, or, you know, I've seen a lot of people in the groups post about, you know, they're new to kayaking and they're trying to figure out which kayak to get. And then now we're, you know, we're trying to figure out, you know, what's the best propulsion system that we can get. And, you know, I'm biased. It's for me, you know, but for you've been able to test, Minn Kotas and Bixby's and Torqueedos and things of that nature. What makes the Torqueedo the easiest solution for you, and over you know, like a Minn Kota or a Motor Guide or a Bixby or something like that?
I'm gonna back up further because you started that question with people that are just getting into the sport. They need to learn some paddling skills. Even if they're using a pedal drive, they need to learn some river safety or just you know, a paddle sport safety, things like flip the boat and know how to get back in there. Flip the boat, know what it takes to get it to go over so you're not afraid of it. You know, learn some basic paddle strokes to, you know, just to be adept at that. You know,
right.
I struggle with this a lot because I was in 2000, I started kayak fishing in 98. In 2001 or 2002, I earned ACA certification as a paddling instructor. And I did 10 years of guiding / teaching a kayak fishing class with the ACA, American Canoe Association curriculum called Basic River Kayak. And those paddling skills are critical, whether you're whether you work up to using a pedal drive or a motor or anything else, because and honestly, it came into play yesterday with something I did. Jake Harshman actually filmed me doing it, but I used the motor and I paddled and punched up through a chute of water that was going over 6 miles an hour, and I clocked it drifting down through it. And I'm doing videos to kind of show, hey, this is why, trolling motors that go, 4 point or 3 point something aren't enough. But without my paddling skills of being able to punch up through that and be stable and actually have a paddle in my hand and know how to brace if I need to. If I start going over and having that paddle in my hand and bracing and keeping the boat under me, so yeah, someone who's new to the sport should take a paddling class first and foremost, even in a Hobie.
Let me touch on this for a quick second. Jason already knows about this, but I got sideswiped on Beaver Lake by Glitter Rocket, and there were about 3 to 4 foot swells, and it's about a mile across on Beaver Lake of where I was trying to cross. And I was actually, using my paddle to stabilize me. I had taken a couple of self-rescue courses. And when the water's rough or the current's rough, even though you're paddling, I was using my paddle to kind of stabilize me with the waves because they were coming different ways. But that boat just didn't even see me, because in a kayak on high swells, there's only about a foot or less of visibility of your kayak. And if they don't see you and stuff like that sometimes. And so this guy obviously didn't see me. And it turned out to be a pretty bad experience. I was stuck out there for about 45 minutes. I couldn't get back in the kayak. It was just the swells were too big. But one of the things that's led me to purchase a Torqueedo was me thinking that maybe if I had the Torqueedo, I could have got across there quicker, across that mile a lot faster than me trying to pedal and paddle and just try to get across, you know what I mean? So that's kind of led me towards that. But it was that safety part, which was
safety getting out of weather, getting away from thunderstorms coming in, or any other reason that hey, it's time to get out of here. It definitely helps.
Right. So so getting a propulsion system was something that I was like, if I would have had something, I probably could have got across here a lot faster, and I wouldn't have been stuck out here in the middle, not moving hardly at all. So that's why I kind of was, did my research on all the different systems and stuff that were out there. And why I was so excited about the 1103. But that got canceled quick.
Hey, I wanted to bring this up. One thing that I learned, just getting this Torqueedo, getting a new boat, you got to get these things licensed. And when you take your information up to the revenue office, they're going to ask you for this document. It's called a manufacturer statement of origin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And one thing you want to do when you get one of these is just go ahead and, or when you buy a new boat, is just get one of those, and have that ready to go. What it has on there is the boat serial number, the weight, the length, the model, everything that you need for to have that thing licensed. So it just takes a couple of days. Just reach out to your reseller or your dealer that you bought your boat from, and have them secure that for you.
Right.
I've done it a lot.
Wow.
There's a couple dozen boats there that I've tested. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
I think people make a big deal of it, and it is a big deal when it's your first time doing it, because you're like, a lot of times if you don't bring that manufacturer's statement of origin or your bill of sale to prove, hey, I've paid sales tax on this, and sometimes they just look at you like you got 3 heads when you say motor and kayak in the same sentence, and they don't know what to do with you. They can't put you in a category of sailboat or whatever. They don't know what to do with you. So it can be frustrating because they don't know. But once you get it, and for years I went through, because Maryland DNR was such a pain to deal with for years until I found the right office that knew me. My local Frederick, Maryland office knows me, and I walk in, they're like, all right, what do you got now? But I used a tag and title service, and they would run to Annapolis to the main one. And if something wasn't right, it wasn't my taking a day off of work to run to Annapolis. It was, I was paying somebody else, $20 for their time and their hassle, and they're going there anyways. So
nice.
Another
thing I did today was I reached out to my insurance agent, and I got the boat, the Torqueedo and electronics and everything insured.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
Ran about about $178 per year, which is not bad, but with an expensive boat and all that stuff, that's easily, $15,000 with all the equipment and everything in there,
Yeah, when I flipped at Beaver, I lost around $1,800 worth of stuff. It's now sitting at the bottom of 60 feet of water. But if I didn't have insurance, I wouldn't have gotten any of that stuff back. Let me
go back to what you were saying with your incident. I was fishing with Gary Ward, who's he's in a Hobie. He's over in New Jersey. He's actually one of the pro staffers for Fisherman's Warehouse Fisherman's Supply Company, Point Pleasant Beach. Anyways, he had something cool when we went out, because we launched right there behind the shop and went out, and you see the Yak-Attack Visi Carbon Pro, and we're using those, and that's good. That keeps you visible. It's something else that gets you a little bit higher. But what he did, and I actually think I have it here.
That's actually what saved me. That was actually when I put that boat back over, and I wasn't able to get back on board from the back. I put my Visi Pro back on the back of the boat, and some folks from shore, that's what they saw, was that right there. That's the only thing they saw. They didn't see my bright seagrass Hobie Outback. They didn't see my life jacket. They saw that Visi Pro flag, and some guy with a camera that was taking photos and stuff saw the flag floating out there and knew that wasn't a buoy, and they ended up flagging down another bass boat and came out and found me. So that is actually, that and me having a PDF was the only thing that saved my life, because I was there for 45 minutes. My arms were killing me. The water was like 48 degrees.
I'm pulling this one out of the box just to show you what Gary did.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, and this one's not totally put together, but you have this foam part, right, that has the track that goes, that goes in, and then it goes up to this, and it's like a, tent pole that comes together. What Gary did is he got an extra one of these little foam pieces, and he basically double stacked it. So he's got another, what is that, 16 inches, that this flag, and I don't have the flag on there, but the light, the light and the flag, he just double stacked it, because he's like, I get out in this nasty surf, and it's an inlet. It's big boats going in and out, and he's like, I disappear in between waves. They don't see me at all. Not the top of my head, nothing. And he's like, I need to get that flag up where they're going to see it. So it's another trick for if guys are going up and fishing Erie, or they're getting out in salt water or big bodies of water. You can buy that Yak-Attack extra little, I forget what they call it, but it's an extension. You just double stack them.
An extra one of those in the garage is they got broken. I think I'm going to take a look and see how I can get those two put together.
Hey, if you got a broken one of those, call John at Yak-Attack and have them send you a repair kit.
Mine got busted at Lake Fork.
Yeah, so he will do that.
No, they will take care of you.
Oh, cool. All right.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, reach out to those guys. They are awesome.
Okay. Cool. Well, I I want to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and we went a little bit over. I want to thank both you guys for joining the show tonight. Jeff, thanks for making some time to talk to us about Torqueedo, and Jason for sharing your install experience with your Hobie 360. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for watching the show, and we will see you next time. See you later, guys. Bye.
Thanks for having me.